Hello everybody and welcome to part 11 of my video sailing course. In this video I explain Man Overboard. Everything I show in this video you also find in my book Learn to Sail with Captain Sailnator. There I describe everything very comprehensively step by step and explain a few more tips and tricks that I could unfortunately not show in this video. You find a link to the book in the video description. Disclaimer: this video is not meant as a solo teaching aid. It is intended as a supplement to a sailing course. Never go on board a sailboat without an experienced sailor, or rather only under the supervision of a licensed sailing instructor. Thank you very much. As I said, this video is about Man Overboard, and this boy is a dummy for someone who just fell overboard. If you didn't watch already my videos about the quick turn and sailing uphead to wind, please watch them in advance so that you better understand what I'm talking about in this video. You will find links to both videos in the video description. I will show two versions of the maneuver. First we bear away to broad reach after the buoy has gone overboard, sail a quick turn and then sail uphead to wind towards the buoy. Second version, we bear away till beam reach, sail a quick turn windward of the buoy, bear away till here and then sail uphead to wind. It will depend on the preferences of your sailing instructor how you will do it in your sailing course. He also knows what the examiners want to see in the sailing examination. I would definitely try both variants, and when you are a licensed sailor you can decide which one is the best for you. If you watched my video about sailing uphead to wind, then you saw that I sailed leeward the buoy this way and then made a 90-degree turn towards the buoy. There's also a second version, and that is nearly sailing uphead to wind. You do not sail a 90-degree turn to the buoy but a 45-degree turn. Again, you have to trust your sailing instructor. He will tell you how you should do it for the exam. If interested, you can practice both versions, and after being a licensed sailor, you can take the version you can better cope with. The disadvantage of sailing uphead to wind in a 90-degree angle at Man Overboard is that when you sailed head up to wind and the bow points into the wind, you are no longer maneuverable. So if you made a mistake, for example you sailed past the buoy or stopped too early, then you cannot get to the buoy anymore. And then you have to repeat the whole maneuver, and that's pretty time consuming. If you made it at the first attempt and stopped next to the buoy, you cannot be sure if you do not overrun the buoy. Because with the wind there are also waves, the boat gets up and down and you might hit the buoy with the hull. Since the bow points into the wind, you cannot decide if you pick up the buoy windward or leeward, but only for whether to portside or starboard. And if you want to pick up the buoy, the boat leans to the side, and if you do not watch out in the hustle and bustle, the boom might hit you on the head. If you nearly sail uphead to wind and release the sheets by doing so, then the sails will be blown to leeward. Therefore, you should try to head to the buoy in a way that you do not pick it up leeward, but windward of the boat. As I said, the sails are then blown leeward. This way they are not in your way when you pick up the buoy. And if you are not close enough to get the buoy, you haul the sails again, sail a bit further, release the sheets again and then pick up the buoy comfortably. But as I said, how you do it in your sailing course is decided by your sailing instructor. He knows how the examiners want to see it, and you decide how you want to do it after the exam by yourself. But now let us finally begin. This is the situation in the sailing course. There are two of you in a dinghy and you want to throw the buoy overboard. The boat sails on a close halt. The buoy goes overboard and it aligns after the wind, and we can see where the true wind is coming from. Now the question is, how do we come back to the buoy and get it back on board? As we learned at the video about sailing uphead to wind, we have to get leeward of the buoy. So we have to go there somehow. And how do we get leeward? By heading up or by bearing away? By bearing away. And what do we do for that with the tiller? To bear away, we pull the tiller towards us. And what are we also going to do by bearing away? We ease the sails. But how far do we bear away now? If we bear away too far, the mainsail will get wind from the other side at one point. It will fly to the other side and the boom might hit the helmsman who might go overboard. That's why we have to pay attention to two indicators that will warn us not to bear away any further. On close halt, by sailing with thrust by lift, a boat heels. If we bear away, at some point we go over to thrust by resistance, the lateral force decreases, and when we arrive on broad reach, the boat does not heel anymore. What happens if we bear away a bit further now? The jib collapses behind the mainsail. It's the first alarm signal when the boat stops heeling, but when the jib collapses, it's almost too late. So if the jib collapses, we have to immediately steer in the opposite direction until the jib fills with wind again. Now we are on the right course to bear away far enough to leeward to sail the quick turn and then to sail up head to wind. If we keep this course now, the question is, how far do we sail until we start the quick turn? The rule of thumb is that we bear away 3 boat lengths. Boat lengths, not to be confused with supertanker lengths. But from which point do we measure this distance? We want to go leeward of the buoy to sail up head to wind, namely 3 boat lengths. As a reference point, we take the windward-leeward line that runs here as dividing line between windward and leeward of the buoy, and we measure from this line. So we cross the windward-leeward line, and now we roughly move the boat's length away from it. At this point the crew counts 1. We sail on and move 2 boat lengths away. Then the crew counts 2. Now the helmsman commands, "Ready for quick turn?" and the crew answers, "Ready." After 3 boat lengths distance, the helmsman commands, "Helms a lee" and "Trim sheets." He starts the quick turn, and meanwhile the crew observes the buoy. Now we are into the wind, turn the bow through the wind, the boom goes to the other side, and the helmsman changes seats. And now it is the first time when the helmsman himself looks out for the buoy. So far only the crew looked out for the buoy. The crew would now pull the jib to the other side, which I have now unfortunately forgot to show. As I said, the helmsman now looks out for the buoy, finds it, and thinks to himself, where is the windward-leeward line and how far away from it am I? Am I already sailing on the line 1 boat length parallel to it, or do I have to head up or to bear away to reach it? In this case it looks already alright, we just have to put the boat in position to be able to sail up head to wind. Now the question is, when do we start to sail up head to wind? There's a trick to find out. In fact, the crew releases the jib. On this course, the jib will be blown backwards like this, the same way as the wind vane. If the clew and the tack of the jib form a line with the buoy, which they do not yet, they will do it about here, then it's time to start to nearly sail up head to wind. Now the helmsman wants to know when it's time to do so. The crew keeps an eye on the buoy and the 2 points of the sail and counts a countdown. 3, 2, 1. At 1 the helmsman commands, "Ready to nearly sail up head to wind?" The crew replies, "Ready," and says 0. Now the 3 points are on a line, and so we start to nearly sail up head to wind with the command, "Release sheets." The boat sails now towards the buoy, the sails are blown leeward, and the boat comes to a stop. We can pick up the buoy and are not bothered by the sails. But as I said, sailing up head to wind in a 90-degree angle is not wrong. You can decide between the 2 variants after your sailing exam. If we have almost reached the buoy by nearly sailing up head to wind, the buoy should not be leeward of the boat, because then we have the problem that the sails are interfering us. We have to sail this way so that the buoy is windward of our boat. If possible, we wait till the windward shroud has passed the buoy to pick it up. If we grab the buoy in front of the shroud and the boat still moves a bit, we get a problem. A buoy weighs nearly nothing and you can easily get it on board, but a person in the water is very heavy. If the boat moves, we cannot hold a person if we get stuck on the shrouds. If we have caught him behind the shrouds, then we can always lead him to the stern and pull him on board, even if the boat is still moving. Therefore we pass the buoy with the shrouds and pick it up behind them. If you immediately get used to that by practicing, then you'll do it the right way in case of an emergency. Now the sails are hauled and we can continue practicing. Now I repeat the whole maneuver with suggested commands. The buoy goes overboard. The crew calls, "Man overboard on starboard." The helmsman repeats, "Man overboard on starboard." Throw life ring. Crew, look out. Ease sheets to broad reach. By doing so, the helmsman bears away, the boat stops to heel and the jib collapses. The helmsman immediately heads up until the jib fills with wind again and keeps the course. The crew is watching the buoy and does not let it get out of sight. Now the helmsman commands, "Look out, count." After passing the corresponding boat lengths distance, the crew says 1, 2. Now the helmsman commands, ready for quick turn? Reply of the crew, ready. 3. Helmsman, trim sheets. The bow turns through the wind. After the tack, the sails go to the other side. The helmsman changes seats and now he can see the buoy. He decides if he should now continue to head up or to bear away. In this case, we bear away a bit to get on the line with 1 boat's length distance parallel to the windward-leeward line. The helmsman commands, count down. The crew releases the jib sheets and counts down. 3, 2, 1. The helmsman commands, ready to nearly sail up head to wind. The crew replies, ready. 0. Command of the helmsman, release sheets. Now the sails are blown leeward. Command, pick up the buoy on starboard. After the crew picked up the buoy, he can say, buoy is caught. Now the helmsman commands, sheet into close hauled, and then sailing close hauled. If you do not want to pay attention to so many parameters to avoid the accidental jibe, you only bear away to beam reach instead down to broad reach. Or rather, it might not be beam reach, but a course in an angle 90 degrees to the true wind. So to say, you sail windward parallel along the windward-leeward line. The wind always creates waves, and the wave that is currently under the buoy is the windward-leeward line. To measure the distance, we now do not take the windward-leeward line as a starting point, but the buoy. So we continue to sail while counting 1, 2, 3, and then we do the quick turn windward of the buoy and then sail on broad reach to leeward. Now the helmsman can see all the time where he is in relation to the buoy. If he is in 1 boat's length distance leeward the windward-leeward line, he turns the boat parallel to this line. The crew releases the jib. If clew and tack are in line with the point where we want to stop the boat, we nearly sail up head to wind and pick up the buoy. If you sail the quick turn leeward of the buoy as shown first, or windward, or even on the windward-leeward line is actually relatively unimportant. The goal is to get leeward of the buoy on a line a boat's length distance parallel to the windward-leeward line so that we can sail up head to wind from there. How you do it for your sailing license exam, and if you nearly sail up head to wind or sail up head to wind, will be explained to you by your sailing instructor. I recommend to try both versions and decide after the exam which one is the best for you. Everything I show in this video you also find in my book, Learn to Sail with Captain Sailnator. There I describe everything very comprehensively step by step and explain a few more tips and tricks that I could unfortunately not show in this video. In the next video I will explain how to jibe. You can find a link to the video in the video description. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel so you will not miss the next video. You also find a link to my book in the video description below. It is written in a way that you can prepare yourself for your next sailing lesson with the respective chapter and then repeat everything you learned afterwards. The book is also available in a colored version and as ebook, and book and ebook are great to prepare yourself for a sailing course and also to read during the course about what you are just doing. It is written in a practical way and I think your sailing instructor will explain everything in a very similar way, and after reading the book you will understand him better and faster, and then you will even learn to sail faster. A link to the book can be found in the video description. I self-published the book and I would be glad if you buy it and support me as an independent author. Thank you very much.